My brother slapped my baby at Christmas dinner. When I fought back, my family joined in and threw me and my son out of the house. But then, my military commander husband arrived. Stay here, honey. It's time they learn what they did wrong. Everyone stood there, mouths wide open. My son was 7 months old. We called him Eli. He had a habit of grabbing your collar whenever you held him, like he was making sure you weren't going anywhere. He was also on December 24th completely done with Christmas. We had been at my parents' house 2 hours by the time dinner hit the table. Noise, perfume, the TV in the den going, cousins running through the hallway, my brother holding court at the kitchen island talking about a development deal he had outside the city. My brother had always needed a room to perform in. That night he needed the whole house. I noticed Eli starting to fade around the time we sat down. His eyes were glassy. He kept grabbing my sleeve and letting go. I knew the window, 15 minutes maybe before the crying started, and I knew the only fix was a dark room and quiet. I started to stand, and my brother said, sit down without even looking at me. I sat back down and bounced Eli on my knee and told myself, just get through dinner. I didn't make it through dinner. Eli lasted maybe 8 more minutes before he started crying in earnest. Not fussing, crying. That high, thin sound that fills a room fast. I stood up again and said, I'm just going to take him to the back, and my brother put his fork down like I had personally insulted him. He said, can we get through one meal? I said, he's a baby. He's tired. My brother leaned across the table and snapped his fingers in Eli's face. Eli screamed louder. Before I could turn my body to shield him, my brother's hand came across and slapped my son on the cheek. Not a tap, a slap. Flat palm, full motion, loud enough that my aunt across the table flinched. Eli went completely silent for about 2 seconds. Then he wailed in a way I had never heard before. I pulled him against my chest and looked at my brother and said, what is wrong with you? My brother leaned back and said he was just trying to stop the crying. My mother said, Emily, lower your voice. My dad said, let's take a breath here. My brother poured himself more wine. That was the moment I understood something I had spent 30 years not wanting to understand. Not one person at that table looked at my son's face. Not one person said what he did was wrong. They looked at me like I was the disruption that needed managing. I grabbed the diaper bag and said, I'm leaving. My mom moved to the doorway. She didn't say anything. She just stood there. My dad said, if you walk out right now, don't come back tonight. My brother didn't look up, so I walked out. I stepped onto the porch, and the cold hit us both. Eli was still crying, but softer now. His face pressed into my neck. I stood there with the diaper bag over my shoulder and looked at the yard and the street and just held my son. Then I heard the lock turn behind me. Marcus had been at a formal unit dinner 40 minutes away, still in his dress uniform when the headlights swung into the driveway. He got out and took in the whole picture in about 3 seconds. Me on the porch, no coat. Eli against my chest, the door shut behind us. He walked straight to me and looked at Eli's face. The mark was still there, reddish against my son's cheek. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask if I was sure. He just said, stay here, honey. It's time they learn what they did wrong. Then he turned and walked to the door. He knocked once. My dad opened it, expecting me. What he got instead was his son-in-law in full dress uniform, 6'2", 12 years of service. A man who had made a career out of staying calm in rooms where nobody else could. My dad started to say something, and Marcus stepped inside. I moved to the side window. I could see into the dining room from there. Marcus stood at the head of the table where my brother had been performing all night. He looked at each person and started talking. He didn't threaten anyone. He didn't curse. He went through it in order. What my brother did. What my parents did after. What it meant that a 7-month-old baby had a mark on his face and his mother had been locked out of the house on Christmas Eve. My brother tried to cut in twice. Marcus didn't argue. He just kept going. My mother started crying. My dad stared at the table. My brother's jaw was tight and he had nothing to say that would land in that room. Not in front of a man who wasn't afraid of him. When Marcus finished, he didn't wait for a response. He turned and walked back out to the porch and said, let's go home. Nobody followed us. We drove home in the dark with Eli asleep in the car seat behind us. Marcus kept one hand on the wheel and one on mine. No reassurances, no plans. He just drove. I looked out the window and thought about the lock turning behind me, about my mother in the doorway, about my brother's hand. I had spent my whole life making myself smaller in that house so my brother could feel bigger. I had done it so long I had started to think that was just what love looked like. Eli made a small sound in the car seat, and I turned around and he was still asleep, one fist curled under his chin. I thought, not him, not ever. That was the last Christmas we spent at my parents' house.